Jay, I had a question for you.
Go ahead.
So, because I know we like the, you know what I mean? Because it's true that we been through it, or sometimes and we've actively participated in behaviors, and we try to be the example for our kids. What do you say to the kid that doesn't see anything wrong with what you're doing? Like they look at it as a, like, man, like for like a son, he see his dad out there knocking him down left and right, and he like, and his dad's telling him, "Don't do what I did," but to your son, that what your dad is doing looks cool.
Yeah, but
Like,
it's still wrong because his dad told him it was wrong.
So, well, here's the thing: you got to get some context. We got to get some explanation behind it. So, even when we have conversations with others, we disagree. Two things need to happen. You got to be willing to listen and willing to accept the possibility that I may have gotten it wrong, I may be doing it wrong, and I'm willing to change. If that person they don't have that open mind like that, then they're not going to be able to receive anything that you're saying. They're just going to keep doing it their way because they feel that this is the right way. So, and then you have to be able to give them examples or break it down to them so that it makes logical sense.
I don't know if it's a man thing or woman thing, but I like your response better because I noticed Cookie said she wouldn't tell her daughter no, she shouldn't have sex. I'd rather her tell her no and give her context behind it. You get what I'm saying? Now, I don't know if that's the reason why a lot of men should want to be in the kids' life because if women are moving like that. I'm not trying to paint all women with the same brush, but it's just kind of, it's some contrast when you hear it coming from a man's voice. Even though he's done the things and made those mistakes, he's still going to tell his son, no, don't do it, but give context behind it because he might think it's cool. Versus a woman's response on this panel is, hey, I'm not going to tell you no, don't have sex. And we all know that's a wrong way to guide the kids. That's
First and foremost, nope. Let me answer my own reply, please. First and foremost, Darwin, don't come for me. That's not a good thing to do. Second of all, the reason I said that the way that I said that was because my child has a father. Okay, just like I had a father. So I leave certain things to her father. I was the one that ended up getting pregnant, having a baby in college. I could have easily done something different, but I didn't. I chose to have my child, and he respected that. We chose to co parent. When my father was alive, my father was in her life. My, I believe in a hierarchy in a family. Do I tell my daughter to be careful? Do I tell my daughter about do I educate my daughter? Absolutely. But the way you phrase the question, would I tell my, I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I'm going to send her to her dad because the relationships between two women, a woman and her son, a man and his daughter, and a man and his son, they're all absolutely completely different. Okay? So just like I said, I spent the better years of my life raising my daughter. There weren't men coming in and out of my house. She didn't see mommy flooding herself out. That's not how that worked. I spent my life single. The only man she saw me interact with was her father, and we weren't even together. All right, that's number one. That's why she's gonna be able to go to him and get information from him. I have talked with my daughter about the safety and how she does not want to end up not married with a child. Those are the things that I talked to her
so
about.
you trust her that with the amount of safety that you've given her, that she'll be able to use the right discernment to keep herself.
Absolutely, not with just me though. You're only
She
putting
got her
me
father
in it.
too, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It was me. It was her aunties. It was her grandmother, her
Mhm.
grandfather, which who I lived with until I was 27. I lived with my parents with her. Um, her father. That's what I'm saying. So it's a village raised my child.
So for the record, to have the right understanding, let me get this straight. But because you still move a certain way without being married as far as sex, That is the reason why you don't want to be a hypocrite. So you send her to her
No, I'm
father
talking
to get
about what
the
happened
absolute.
in the back in the day. I'm talking about what happened in college. She has to go really do some real digging. The way I moved back then, when I was her age, I don't feel like I am qualified to tell her how to move
Well, if
at
you and
19.
that's the reason why Lapeef said if you don't overcome it. I think he stated if you're able to overcome the bad behavior, you
I've
can.
what bad behavior? I see that's where you got me mixed up with other people on the panel.
No,
And you're
what I'm saying
assuming
is
something about me.
okay. What I'm saying is okay.
What bad behavior?
Some may think bad behavior is just
Don't
having
say
sex
some,
and
say
not being
you.
married. Some may think that that's bad behavior, having sex for no intention, not being engaged or married. So what I'm saying is, what Jr. was saying, if you were able to overcome that and let's say get married, then you'll feel more comfortable telling your daughter,
No,
hey,
I still wouldn't. If I had a husband right now, I still wouldn't tell my daughter at 19 that, hey, you shouldn't be having sex. And she 19 and can do the math like, but wait, bitch, you was having sex. So that's just how females are. So I'm
and
going to
that's why I
send her
said,
to her
and you made my
dad
point. That's
who
why
has
you
the
hold on.
authority over her.
You made my point. You said that's how females are, and that's why before I stated what I was saying, it must be a man thing and a woman thing. This might be a different because
It
hearing it come from
is.
a man is,
I agree with
that's
you
all I
on
was
that.
saying. Men are
But
Yeah.
teaching their daughters different than women are
but
teaching.
Darwin, even
No,
if you say
with
that, if a
daughters view
woman
their
finds
mothers
somebody
different.
that they are in love with, no matter what teaching you give them, no matter how you say keep yourself pure, you're especially in this day and age, that's not necessarily going to be the thing that's going to prevent them from having sex.
Well,
So
I
what
wasn't
no no
saying
no
that you should say
hold on.
it.
But what partly of what Cookie is saying is I'm going to be honest about the fact that regardless of what her dad tell her or even I tell her, at the age that she is now, she's free to do whatever she does. So the best approach in having conversation with her is to at least give her the talk about, like, make sure you protect yourself, make sure you're not out there just giving it up all willy-nilly or whatever. Those are the kind of conversations she's going to have, because she has to be realistic. If we look at the stats, and then even for her saying, using her own life experience, she didn't wait till she was married. So I'm going to give her advice based on my personal experience to say, talk to your dad so you can get this side of it from a male perspective. And then you and I will talk based on a female perspective. And what I can appreciate with having my husband, kind of like what Cookie was saying, with having my husband here, both of us had conversations with sex conversations with our son and our daughter. And at times it was together, it wasn't even separate, because it would be some things that he would say that I know he's coming from a male perspective and talking to my daughter, where I was able to give her the female perspective of the aspect of the emotional aspect of sex that my husband ain't gonna even be able to relate to, because that
Yes.
experience for him isn't the same. And the same thing with my son, he's going to experience sex differently. And I was able to give him a hindsight is like, yo, when you do this, this is what the girl
The
goes
woman
through in
feels
this
like.
situation. So be mindful of these things as well. I know you
Okay, so
make
let me
it
see if
about
I can
food.
let me see if
So
I can let me see if I can let me see if I can give you what I'm thinking and why this can seem kind of toxic or wrong in the way of teaching these kids. So basically, for example, it's like, okay, and that's why I said it may be a man or woman thing. A man are saying, okay, here's the rules. Don't break them. In the context and what JR was doing is giving them context behind why you shouldn't break them. That is how men are doing it. And the reason why he's saying don't break them is because he's actually following the rules, although he may have broke them 20 years ago. Now that he's living the word or walking in the rules, he's able to convey that and give context behind it. Versus y'all angle or approach to it is, here are the rules. If you decide to break them, because I know today, typically at your age, you're going to break them, just make sure that you do it this way and you're safe about it, or you cater to this so you don't get in trouble. And I think that's the contrast between what a man is doing with his logical thinking and saying, don't break the rules. This is why you shouldn't break them. This is what happened to me. Don't break them. Absolutely no. And a woman is saying, I'm not going to tell her no because I know she's a teenager and that's just going to give her curiosity and she's going to want to do it anyway. So instead of telling her no, just wear a condom or practice safe sex or, sort of like that.
Well, I would say for me, we started talking to our kids very young, trying to create an environment where they can come to us about anything, whether it was drugs, sex, whatever. So we started very young. So by the time they got to the age where, especially now, they have all of this access to sex in terms of on social media, commercial, they're exposed to way more stuff regarding sex than we were at their age. So that was part of our plan, is to get to them about it before they get to other avenues about it, and then try to learn from that. So when they did have questions, some of the questions were specifically about mechanics or, the physiological aspect. So it wasn't just don't have sex. This is why, because you're going to have a high body count and guys ain't going to be with you. You know what I'm saying? That the conversations had to go way deeper than that, because sex is just not necessarily about the high body count. You know what I'm saying? So as a man, you're going to give that conversation to your girl, because that's, as a man, what you're going to be looking at, because that's your experience. But from a general perspective of the physical aspect of sex, the emotional aspect of sex, why you should wait until you married, what's the benefit of doing that, those conversations are also had as well. But what you don't want to do is have a conversation, because that's how we grew up in my household. Very Christian based.
Better not.
We was told not to, and the reason not to was because God says that this is you save yourself before marriage, and that was our answer. So they explained why. My mom was an example of that. She didn't, she was a virgin when she got married. She did it the right way, in a way she was telling us. But at the same time, we didn't necessarily follow in that footstep. What would have been beneficial if given us the reason, and hers was on a biblical aspect of it, which was great. But there was also questions just in general that you have about sex in general, whether you're doing it or not. The curiosity, like alone, will have you asking questions. And we did not feel like we could go to our parents and have those conversations. So where do you go when you're trying to learn, or, you watch something, or you listen to what somebody else your age said, and they don't know half of nothing either. So you're getting misinformation. So the goal is you as a father to say no and explain, and even give your example. Yeah, I moved like this when I was younger, but these are the consequences that came from that. I don't want you moving that. I want you to be a better man than I was, or a better woman than I was. But then you also still have that additional conversation of, don't do it. But if you're not going to listen to me, these are the consequences. But I'd rather you protect yourself than end up in a situation where you're having a kid out of wedlock. And that's to the boy or the girl. Just because he may not bring the baby home, he's still having a kid out of wedlock. So those conversations still need to be had with both the girl and the boy, and explain how to make sure you don't make that happen outside of abstaining from sex.
Yeah, my daughter's village works as a cohesive. Her daddy is definitely telling her no.
I guess.
So the answer. So let me answer Sweeney's original question, because God damn.
Hold on, Henry. I wanted to address what Mistaken said real quick.
Oh man, because it's gonna get long-winded again, and I ain't gonna never get the goddamn answer. Fuck that shit.
30 seconds, bro. I promise you.
The answer won't be 30 seconds though.
Oh, yes, it will. My response is gonna be 30 seconds. All right. To Bruiser's point, it's almost as if, like, to kind of what he's trying to get y'all to understand, it's like us telling our son, don't rob a bank. But if you feel like you want to rob a bank, here's how to not get caught.
No, here's the
Thank
consequence
you.
of robbing a
Thank
bank.
Well, no, that's,
No.
but that's what I'm saying, because the thing is that we can tell them don't rob a bank because you're gonna go to jail. That's the natural consequence of robbing a bank. Just like we would tell our young girls the consequences of having children out of wedlock, doing everything out of wedlock. But when you're offering prescriptions to her, you're saying essentially, hey, you'll go to jail if you rob a bank, but if you're gonna rob a bank anyway, here's how to handle that, or here's how to navigate that so that you don't experience the consequences of
Here's
it.
how to not get caught. Here's
So
the underground
Absolutely
code.
not.